The story begins with a storm and a decision, because before the demon, before the pig, there was a journey across violent waters that revealed how far Jesus would travel to rescue one broken soul in darkness. The wind roared like a living beast, and the disciples cried out in terror. Yet Jesus rose and spoke peace to the sea, proving that no storm outside us is greater than the authority that moves within him. When the waves calmed, the disciples trembled in awe, not because the danger vanished, but because they realized they were traveling with the one creation itself obeyed without hesitation or resistance. But what they did not know was that this storm was not an obstacle to their destination. It was a barrier guarding a tormented life that hell intended to keep trapped forever among the tombs. Jesus stepped onto foreign soil in the region of the Gerasenes, a place avoided by the religious and forgotten by the righteous, proving that grace walks boldly where human judgment refuses to enter. Out of the tombs came a man whose life had collapsed into chaos, a figure of terror and tragedy whose shattered identity echoed across the cliffs like a cry that heaven refused to ignore. His body was scarred, his hair wild, his voice broken by endless nights of torment, and every chain around his wrists testified to 1,000 failed attempts to control what was destroying him inside. No one lived near him anymore, for he had become a legend of fear, a living warning to anyone who wandered too close to the place where death and despair had made their home. Day and night he screamed among the tombs, cutting his own flesh as if pain was the only language he still understood, a prisoner in a battlefield where his mind, soul, and body were losing ground. Yet when he saw Jesus from a distance, something deeper than fear pulled him forward, and he ran and fell at his feet because even a tormented heart recognizes the presence of its only hope. But the voice that spoke was not his own, for the darkness inside him trembled and cried out, begging the Son of the Most High God not to torment them before their time of judgment. Legion, that was the name the spirits declared, a Roman military word announcing that this man was not attacked by one spirit, but invaded by an organized army of torment working together to destroy him completely. Thousands of demons screamed from within one fragile human vessel, proving that evil does not always come softly or gradually, but sometimes storms the soul like soldiers occupying conquered ground. Yet for all their number, all their rage, and all their fury, every single one of them bowed before Jesus, because even darkness knows there is no throne higher than his authority. They begged him not to send them into the abyss, for they feared the judgment they knew was coming, and so they pleaded desperately for another place to inhabit rather than face immediate destruction. Nearby on the hillside was a great herd of pigs, thousands feeding together, representing an economy built on what God had declared unclean, a system profitable yet spiritually compromised and normalized by the culture around it. When the demons begged to enter the pig, Jesus granted permission, not because he valued animals above humans, but because what had been invisible was about to become undeniably visible to everyone watching. The spirits rushed into the herd, and the pigs screamed with wild panic as they charged toward the steep cliff, plunging violently into the sea below until the water churned with the weight of 2,000 drowning bodies. In that single horrifying moment, the unseen war inside one broken man became a public revelation, showing the community the true scale of the darkness that had been tormenting him for years. What no chain could restrain and no person could understand was exposed in the drowning herd, proving that evil is not dramatic for spectacle, but destructive in ways most people never truly perceive. The herdsmen fled in terror, and news raced across the region, for the loss of that herd was more than tragedy. It was economic shock, moral confrontation, and spiritual awakening crashing into daily life at once. When the people arrived, they found the once violent man sitting calmly beside Jesus, clothed, restored, and in his right mind, and the silence around him was louder than all the years of screaming. Instead of chains, he now wore peace. Instead of fear, he carried stillness, and the miracle before them revealed that deliverance is not merely the removal of demons, but the restoration of identity and dignity. But rather than rejoicing, the people looked at the pigs, counted the cost, and fear gripped their hearts, because they realized that if Jesus stayed, more than pigs would change. Their entire world would. They begged him to leave their region, choosing profit over presence, comfort over transformation, and familiarity over freedom, proving that sometimes the greatest resistance to miracles is not demons but human priorities. The man who had been freed did not want Jesus to leave, for he longed to follow the one who crossed the storm to reach him, but his request was gently denied for a greater purpose. Jesus told him to return home and tell what the Lord had done for him, because the miracle was never meant to stay silent. It was meant to echo across cities and awaken hearts bound in quiet chains. And so the man who once screamed among the tombs became a living testimony in the Decapolis, traveling through 10 Gentile cities, declaring not doctrine or debate, but the mercy that rewrote his life. The chapter does not end with a crowd rejoicing, but with a community wrestling with fear, a man stepping into destiny, and a savior leaving knowing that one restored voice would carry his message further than they realized. The freedom of one man cost 2,000 pigs, shook an entire economy, challenged cultural comfort, and exposed the hidden war between obedience to God and allegiance to convenience. Yet the greatest truth rising from the shore was this: one human soul is worth more than any system, any profit, any herd, any comfort, because heaven values what the world treats as disposable. And while the town sent Jesus away, the delivered man stepped into his calling, proving that sometimes the one society rejects becomes the very messenger God uses to awaken the places that once feared him. The storm, the demons, the pigs, the fear, the rejection, and the testimony all formed one unfolding revelation, that the love of God will cross every barrier to rescue the soul everyone else has already abandoned. And as chapter 1 closes, the waves crash softly against the shore, the herd lies silent beneath the sea, and one restored man stands ready to carry a message that will echo far beyond his broken past. Because this was never just a story about demons and pigs, but a doorway into understanding what God values, how spiritual warfare unfolds, and how far heaven will go to reclaim a life the world has given up on. The scene fades from the tombs, yet the meaning remains. When Jesus enters a place ruled by fear, darkness trembles, systems shake, and the chains that once defined a life lose their power forever. And now the journey shifts toward what this miracle reveals about your life, your battles, your freedom, and the unseen war that still rages in silent places of the human heart today. For the same voice that silenced a legion still speaks across storms, across guilt, across shame, calling every soul who feels trapped among tombs to rise, awaken, and discover that freedom is nearer than they ever imagined. Chapter 1 ends not in tragedy, but in a doorway to deeper revelation, inviting us to step into the meaning behind the miracle and the truth that will unfold powerfully in the next chapter.